Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Dr. Homebrew, here to throw up your beer. I'm just kidding. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Dr. Homebrew. We're here. Brian's here. Keith's here. I'm here.
We need more
Keith,
JP
Kevin.
singing on this show.
I need to sing because or else I'll vomit. I don't know. I have a lot of vomit songs. If I was a freestyle rapper, it'd be like MC Pukey or something like that.
Album called Songs About Vomit.
Vomit songs from the vomitorium.
Songs with a Z.
That's right. It would be like classic like Roman references.
That sounds like a Splatinum record.
Hope everyone's doing great out there in podcast land. We're doing pretty good in here, as you can tell. We just came off the Imperial Stout show.
Thanks for downloading all the ones and zeros, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's been very good. And then while we're doling out appreciatory comments, it's a word, right? Thank you to 5 Star, our fine sponsor, 5 Star Chemicals. You can go to 5starchemicals.com, learn about them, love them, incorporate them into your brew day, because I'm telling you right now, you cannot get better than 5 Star for cleaning and sanitizing equipment and chemicals, and you cannot get very far in homebrewing without cleaning and sanitizing your equipment. You can't do it. I know people who try to skirt the issue. We've had beers on this show where people don't really do a very good job. And look, man, we're telling you the best thing you can do for your beer is to be clean, and the best way you can be clean is 5 Star Chemicals. Telling you.
Thank you, 5 Star, for keeping my shit clean.
Right. I buy PBW by the giant 5-gallon pail. Is how I get it. Honestly, I really do.
My buddy does that too, and then he like splits it off at homebrew meetings. Like, oh,
that's nice. That's cool. I mean, I use that shit for everything.
Oh yeah,
for everything. I clean my stainless pots with it. I clean my sink with it. I clean my bathtub with it. Yeah, it's great.
I hate the thing though is when I'm like putting it into another container and end up like snorting it, which has
yeah, that's not so good,
or like
man.
a shirt over my face, or get like one of those masks or something. It's always that scares me.
Yeah, you're gonna have a bad time if you try to inhale PBW. You're gonna have a bad time.
Cleans out your nose. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
it's probably better than inhaling caustic. But
well, that's probably true. Okay, today on the show we have an American Stout. From Scott, who has been on the show a couple times before, so that'll be fun to check back in with that dude. And then we have an Imperial Black IPA. It's another dark beer show. This is from Erik. And I think we're just going to get Erik. Let's just get Erik on the line right now, huh?
Erik.
Let's just do it.
Is it ERK or?
It could be ERK. I think it should be ERK. This poor bastard. I told him we talked to him about half an hour ago. But that's how we roll in Dr. Homebrew. We're a little late sometimes. Erik, are you here, buddy?
I'm here.
Nice. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Perfect. Sorry we're getting to you a little bit late. I hope you're staying up and drinking lots of coffee, because this is a very important interview. It's the interview of your life.
No, I'm good. Not coffee, but just closing out the week with a couple beers.
There you go. Yeah, boy. So this is your first time on the show, I believe. Is this your first time brewing an Imperial Black IPA, or is this something that you kind of pull out every now and then?
No, it's a first time, just kind of trying to do something new.
Okay. What do you normally brew? What do you normally like to brew?
I guess double IPA.
Okay.
So
all right.
I kind of figured I would slightly step out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you just change the color a little bit. That's fine, right?
So this isn't a Vermont Imperial Black IPA, is it? It's not hazy enough, if so.
I did not order up Omega yeast to make it look like orange juice. No.
Thank you for doing so.
You should see my other beer.
Black orange juice. Yeah, for that beer being so good, you've had half a beer in 4 hours.
Well, we've had freaking Imperial Stouts all night. What do you expect, JP?
And you now have a second
Christ.
beer as well, so it obviously isn't that good if you have a second beer.
That's right. This guy trying to tell us that cloudy beers are good. Erik, how long have you been homebrewing, my friend?
About 5 years now.
Okay. All right, and you're pretty much keying on the IPAs and the doubles and Imperials and stuff like that. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've been trying to like step out of my homeroom a bit and trying some new stuff, but yeah, those are kind of my go-to beers.
Wait, you're not 17, are you? Homeroom. What are these high school references here? This guy's not of legal brewing age.
Have you been
people.
sitting down for the Pledge of Allegiance like recently in class? We're like, I'm not gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm just gonna sit in my chair and not, I'm gonna do my Colin Kaepernick here and just sit down and Black IPA.
No.
Black IPA. All right, Brian. Let's start this one, dude. I'll throw it to you.
All right, man.
Since you're within striking distance.
Yeah. So it's an inviting, pleasant aroma to it. It has a nice kind of a fruity presentation. I get the fruitier hops right away. It's kind of citrus and light tropical. Not super bright, but they're there at a good enough level where it's clean and it's fairly fresh smelling. The hop intensity could be a little higher. But there's a range that can be allowed, so that's cool. Seems like a very clean ale fermentation. I didn't get any DMS, acetaldehyde, no funky stuff really. The malt is low, restrained. The alcohol is low and restrained. It seems like it's not like, wow, this is a big, huge beer. It's when it's Imperial, you want to judge it like, okay, I want to smell a little more alcohol, but there's a range for that as well. You can have some imperialized beers that are, IPA, it already, goes up to 7s or so, regular IPA. So you want an Imperial one can start in the 8s and go up from there greatly towards, these days a double IPA is like what that triple IPA used to be.
Yeah, dude.
And then they're going to invent a style called quadruple IPA, and then the triples are going to drift up there, and pretty soon this will just be like a pale ale. But it's 8.5%. So yeah, the alcohol's really smooth for what's there. That's all I'm saying. I'm foaming at the mouth here. The malt is kind of backgroundy, low restrained, base malt, a bit of caramel, but it's out of the way. It's not bothering anything. The alcohol that is there is pretty smooth. Appearance-wise, it's a nice, rich, dark brownish color. Has a low, light tan head that stuck around fairly well. The clarity seems okay. It was hard to see when the glass was fuller, but as I drink it down, it does seem like it's pretty clear. Finer bubbles and a little bit of frothiness around it turned into kind of a color on the glass, color of some froth and foam and finer bubbles mostly. Flavor-wise, the malt is smooth. So I'm like talking about the malt first on an IPA here too. That's another thing, but the malt was good and smooth, and then you get the fruity esters in there with it. Has a bit of caramel, and the way it's expressing itself is a faint dark malt note, which is again out of the way, a little like light chocolatey thing. So it's okay to style. It's not over the top on the malt thing, but I'm noticing the malt more than maybe I should. It's just, and it dries out nicely too. So like the hops are somewhat muted, but what is there is clean and citrusy and pleasant. So I liked it. It's nice and drinkable. It's like kind of reminds me of. I was thinking of it like I don't know if you have the Wookiee Jack, that they
totally
can't get in bottles anymore. But it's like a Wookiee Jack kind of.
Yeah.
That balance where it's not like over the top, like it's gonna wallop you over the side of the heads. Well, I mean, when the stuff is fresh, it is pretty hoppy, but. Most of the bottles you get are faded a little bit. They're not like fresh from the brewery 2 days ago, so they're a little more muted on the hops, and that happens pretty fast, especially when you get a little more malt in there. But I really like the mouthfeel of the beer too. It was crisp, smooth drinking. The body felt pretty light, and it was just no obvious warmth really. The alcohol again, smooth, sneaky. Carbonation is kind of medium low. No astringency or anything. There's not very, no big creaminess or anything weird like that. It's just quenching instead. It's like drying and quenching, kind of as expected. It's a quaffable beer for sure. So yeah, overall, that was a pleasant drinking Imperial Black IPA. I don't know that I'd call it like, the Imperial thing is a little deceiving because it's like you really want it to wallop you over the head with alcohol these days, and it's not doing that. It's on the lower end for that style, which is fine. It might have judged better even as a regular black IPA.
Oh, really? Just without the Imperial designation?
I don't know that.
Okay.
Even if it technically by the numbers, it should be an Imperial IPA territory. But if it's smooth and the alcohol that's there is, just like a big IPA, regular IPA, then you could get away with that. Just calling it that way. If it's starting to get a little hotter, and he's like, okay, I better call this a double. It's not the alcohol that the fermentation you carried out has done a really good job of keeping those higher alcohols in check. So, yeah, it seems like alcohol could come up a bit if you want to really declare it that way. But just a very smooth beer, medium high alcohol content. You could definitely bring up the dry hops a fair amount and increase that hop intensity that's there, but. I like what is there. It's smooth. It was like kind of a mid-30s beer. I give it like a 35. So that was smooth and very drinkable and kind of like a slightly aged Wookiee Jack, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it.
Very good. Very good. Excuse me. Keith, you ready, buddy?
I think I am.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Let's see what you got.
So I think I'm rocking here with the medium high citrus on the nose. Not very much roast. It's kind of subdued, which is fine for the style. I like that. Being it's not really going to be a stout. I'm looking for just a dark beer but doesn't have a ton of roast in it. Some caramel and malt sweetness. For some reason, sometimes I get this like strange low phenol level in certain hops, so I get that. But as I go through it and taste later on, I'm not really picking. It's not a phenol fermentation thing. It is just from the hops a little bit. So I think that's cool. So it's probably more just like a hop spiciness there that I'm tasting.
I could see that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Color wise, it is dark brown, and it's kind of like one of the things I hate about black IPAs is that sometimes they're not really black.
It's hard to get them totally black without making it ash.
Right? Yeah, and we can talk about recipe stuff and things like that later. And there are ways to get closer to that, but it is brownish. It's pretty dark. It's pretty good for the style. Fairly clear, low tan. Color ahead, decent head retention as well. It's probably a little bit better than decent. It's really good head retention. So in terms of flavor, I get a fruity and flowery, light citrus. I think honestly a little subdued for the style again here. I'm looking for something jumping out of the glass at me, especially for an Imperial. Even though you want the alcohol there, you also want the over the top aroma, flavor. Hops, and I think now we're looking at this is kind of okay. And as Brian was mentioning, we're looking at it reminds me of Wookiee Jack for maybe a couple months past, but anytime your beer is compared to Wookiee Jack, that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Firestone Walker.
Yeah, because Wookiee Jack has that kind of a little bit of the astringent
with the
dark roast character. Yeah.
So I think one of the funniest things for me, like tasting it wise, it reminds me of, there's not much roast, but maybe just a tiny bit. And it reminds me of like a light roast coffee. So like back in my neighborhood, there's like Fork Barrel, which makes great coffee in San Francisco. And they make some really great citrusy coffee. They roast some citrusy coffees that are awesome. And this kind of reminds me of that sometimes when I have one of those. I'm like, yeah, this is, and it's an awesome thing. And it's a real low roast, but it has a lot of citrus. And I'm like, I never really thought about beer and coffee that way together before, so this really reminded me of that. So it was kind of fun. Hop bitterness I thought was a little low for this style. Everybody wants their IPAs to be a little bit less hoppy, but I thought for an Imperial IPA, black Imperial IPA, this was a little on the low side in terms of hoppiness. Very drinkable though. Maybe this is the way the style is going in general. Got a little of that phenol flavor too, but it really is kind of subtle. Medium body, medium high carbonation, just a touch of warming. Overall, though, it was pretty crisp beer. I would love to ask you about the pH of your mash, and feels like on the low side. It feels like it's pretty easy beer to drink. I like that about it. Love the beer overall. Thought it was very tasty. I just thought in a competition again, if I were judging this, I'd be like, this beer is really, really great. But I would assume there's going to be something coming down the line that's a little bit hoppier. Maybe it's a matter of age at this point in time. But I would love to see you kick up the dry hopping a little bit more. The flavor hops a little more, just everything in general. But like I said, it could be an aging sort of thing more than anything else. And for a double IPA, I'm fine with the 8.5 or wherever you said it was. That to me it makes perfect sense. It doesn't need to be a 10% to be a double IPA or a double IPA black IPA. Maybe a little more cinnamon to make it a little bit darker. Something to cheat just to make it a little more black. I think. And I see a black IPA is a brown IPA. I'm just.
So they make black food coloring, like you can just cheat.
They actually do. They do, but it makes things look more like bluish greenish than black.
Well, you said the Sinmar. That's
like
essentially what it is, right?
Yeah. On the cartoons, yeah.
And I think that's it.
Okay.
Cool. What was
the other option would be like to. Sorry, I said I was done. But I'm going to jump in again. I'm interested in how you did the black malt. I mean, the other one is obviously the cold steep, something like Carafa, and then add that to the boil as well. So there's a lot of options there. But
so I think Keith wants to know how fresh your beer is.
What about 2 months old? I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next question is like oxygen intake and how you're dry hopping, and I would have a lot of questions about IPAs, and I'm pretty opinionated about that sort of stuff. So, how long do you dry hop? I mean, we should talk about hops to start with. I think that's any IPA. We should talk about what kind of hops you're using, when you use them, the whole process with all of that.
Well, let's run through your recipe real quick, Eric. You want to give us what you did?
Sure. So I'll start with the malt. So base malt, of course, 2-row. No surprise there, about 78%. Added Munich, about 11% Munich there. Cara Munich, about 6%. Carafa 3, about 4%. And then just a touch of chocolate wheat malt, 1%. So that's the malt bill. Actually, hops are pretty basic. I did for my bittering Warrior, and then a bunch of late hop additions: Centennial, Columbus, Simcoe. And then for the dry hop, pretty short dry hop for probably IPA standard, only about 5 days. So Centennial and Simcoe and the dry hop. Kind of my standard dry hop practice is when the gravity really starts slowing down, I'll pull the yeast off and then throw the dry hops in. And I usually pick up maybe like 2 to 3 points on it. So it's definitely still fermenting. So I'm hoping it's still pushing some oxygen out, filling it with CO2.
Yeah, a lot of people like to do that to keep. It'll.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Well, it'll. When you add when it's still fermenting, it's still going to scrub out some of the hop character. But yeah, the risk of oxygenation is a lot less. And to me, having less hop character is better than having an oxidized, cheesy, horrible hop character.
Yeah.
So I like to do that too sometimes.
Okay.
It is a tough call. I agree with Brian. I mean, I've heard that before too, and I don't think 5 days is a short period of time. But
that's fine. Yeah. I'm in a
weird thing. I like doing like 72 degrees for 2 or 3 days, but that's just me. But yeah, no. I think that sounds like a good period of time.
Yeah, the temperature I ran at for the dry hop was it was like 67 degrees. So
okay.
I haven't. I don't know why I am, but I'm scared about going any higher. I always feel like some magical bacteria is going to get in there and start eating up my beer.
Well, it might. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they always say dry hopping isn't gonna, and I'm so paranoid. Like, you're pouring something from a hop bag that you probably reached your finger into earlier, and
Right.
who knows what's in there, but
Especially your fingers, Brian.
for some reason, yeah.
Look at them right now. Those guitars you've touched, and
Yeah.
when's the last time you changed your strings?
I change my strings all the time because my fingers like corrode metal, and
You're acid man. You're a weird superhero.
strongly acid.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That seems like a good process. Is there such a thing as hot dry hopping? Like, would you dry hop at 90 degrees or something after primary?
It sounds like a Brulosophy episode now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. Let's get that guy on here again. I liked the Brulosophy guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
I want to do a triangle test.
Well, do we have any questions, Eric? Do you have any more questions for the guys?
Hey, you guys asked about the pH. I was going to say, I didn't measure pH past the mash, but it was the mash pH was 5.46. Kind of curious, you guys said that the hop presence wasn't quite where you want it to be, or well, I guess I declared it as an imperial. I just said that because of the alcohol content.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of exactly why I put it there. But maybe it wasn't quite there, and maybe there needed to be more hop punch, or maybe a more alcohol punch on it to be there.
I think sometimes, like when you enter a competition, like it's about taste. You just taste it yourself, and you think about, is that an imperial or is that a regular IPA? And for us today, that's fine. I'm saying is, I looked at the numbers, and that's what it means to me. But it wasn't very highly alcoholic. So if I were actually really entering this in a competition, I don't know. It's a borderline sort of thing, and I don't think many judges are going to pick up on being too hot. Maybe Brian will, because he has fingers that corrode guitar strings or whatever. But no, I mean, it's a really tough call. I mean, I think like no matter what the numbers actually end up being, it's more about what you taste and your flavor wise. In your mind, how it works out. But I think it's more about, for an IPA, it's always about the hop like intensity and then the alcohol with that. And I just felt like for this, like the hop intensity wasn't jumping out, even the bitterness. And everybody wants a less bitter IPA than they used to want. Even judges want that now. So it's a weird changing state of affairs in terms of judging. But
what would push this to an imperial?
Well, when you think Imperial IPA,
which is subjective, I guess.
You think a lot of hops, and that's like, to Eric's point, like, he declared it Imperial because technically by the numbers, it is Imperial. It's that strong, and that's fine. With alcohol, it happens to be really smooth. Is it Imperial enough? Keith says, and is it black enough? Is it IPA enough? Is it hoppy enough? It's like, it's almost there on all three of those things to be Imperial Black IPA. It's not.
So it's not just one. It's not just one thing. Like if he just punched a little, like 20% more hops in there.
I want something that's pitch black, doesn't have any roast character flavor in it whatsoever, and it's hoppy as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I was speaking like, and no, not to knock on this beer because it's really enjoyable. I like Wookie Jack even a little past his prime, but does it scream Imperial Black IPA? I don't know. That's just into the esoterics of being a stupid beer judge and doing your thing. I'm just getting too picky for my own good.
It also matters what you're judging against that day in a competition.
Right,
it all depends. Do you want to win or do you want to get feedback or what you're looking to do? And that's
or do you just want to make good beer that you can drink? And this is I could have a couple of pints with you of this beer. It's very good.
I could totally see this at the judge table being picked out of the other flight or the rest of the flight because it's not quote unquote imperial. It's not overtly one thing. Like you were saying, it's kind of riding that line.
And that's the thing, yeah.
And so that could totally work to you. Have you entered this, by the way, Eric, in any competitions?
I have not, no.
Yeah. I could see it playing to your advantage sometimes because, like the guys are saying, people want maybe some of that less. There is a lot of flavor. I would maybe back the roast down a little bit and maybe goose the hops up a little bit. But for the most part, I don't know. I mean, it's a gamble. Fuck it.
To play counter to that, though, at the same time, when you're having a beer submitted for judging, the judges are tasting a very small amount of it, and to really win a judge over, your beer needs to stand out.
Intensity.
More than the others. So intensity sometimes, and like a lot of Jamil's recipes, lean towards the more intense side of the style, and you find that all of his recipes are going to, not all of them, I don't want to generalize too much, but they're geared towards what will impress a judge, and he obviously knows how to do it well, and his brewing technique is awesome, and you know, Heretic, they're doing some cool stuff over there, but you know, is that what you want to drink for yourself? You know, if this is what you like, hell, I could drink a lot of it too, so
yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah, I think Cinnamar is the other thing that we kind of mentioned. You know, if you know what that is or not, Erik, and it's not available from everyone, but it is basically a malt derived darkening agent that is pretty much like Carafa in liquid form. That is very, you know, not roasty at all. So you can add it and you can get a little more color and not have to get much flavor at all. But it sounded like you wanted some of that flavor, which you got. But it wasn't like, none of us were like, well, it's way too roasty. This is like that's the worst thing in Imperial. Most times when you get a black IPA in a competition, you're like, oh, okay, you should have been in the American Stout category. You didn't do that. You did a great job of not doing that. So that's...
It's funny, though, too, because I was just thinking about Cinnamar with... we brewed Berliner Weiss, and my buddy and I were brewing a Berliner Weiss to try to... for a competition we're going to be entering. But it came out too dark, and it was just, you know... I don't know, I think the work got a little oxidized or something before we added the bugs, and then it darkened a little bit. And then when we boiled it got even a little darker. But so it's like not to color, and you know, it need to be super light.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we could make it we're not gonna probably enter it in that competition. We've brewed some more batches since, but it's like we could add some Cinnamar and just call it a black Berliner Weiss. It tastes pretty good.
That sounds awesome, man. I'm gonna do that now and rip that idea off.
Just turn it into a novelty, you know.
There you go.
Don't rip off my idea.
It'd be like a black and blackberry Berliner Weiss.
Yeah.
Erik, do you have any more questions for the guys, or should we let you go?
Sorry, Erik.
Sorry.
Hey, no, I appreciate the comments. Helpful. Really, no, it's good. Nothing else from me.
Cool. Yeah, well, thanks for sending your beer in, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Thank you.
And thanks for your comments on it, guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, Erik.
All right, buddy. Take it easy.
All right, bye.
Bye.
So I want
Cool
Keith to bring back some of that berry coffee the next time I see him, and we'll make a black IPA made only with coffee as the darkening agent. How about that?
That'd be cool. Yeah, you get the right light roast coffee.
And if it
that
tastes
could be
too
good.
coffee-like, then we'll just call it a coffee. Yeah, but like if you could just get it to where the coffee is just a bright citrusy one that's not too darkly roasted.
Yeah, like a Kenya coffee or some one of the more African coffees. There's still some acidity, but light roast. Because you can get that maybe light blueberry quality from that too, which would be pretty interesting.
Balance the malt and just hop the hell out of it and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
I was trying to work for Four Barrel to be one of the sponsors of the show. Was my angle there, but
they still can. Sponsorships are now open. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. It's Dr. Homebrew. Stay tuned.
Do you know the three most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today. Admit it. Homebrewing is not always free of frustrations. Years ago, brothers Bill and Jim Mitchell decided to minimize those frustrations and create an entirely new brewing process and a brand new kitchen appliance, the Pico Brew Zymatic. The Zymatic sits on your kitchen counter and connects to the internet via Wi-Fi. It comes with access to a huge recipe library full of award-winning beers and can brew your next batch at the push of a button. Improve repeatability and refine your recipes beers with the Pico Brew Zymatic. With minimal cleaning and hassle, the Zymatic enables anyone to brew craft beer in the comfort of their own kitchen. Just add your ingredients and the process of homebrewing becomes simplified and automatic, allowing you to focus on what really matters while you brew. At Pico Brew, they believe everyone should be able to enjoy the art of homebrewing and make their own damn good craft beer. See the Zymatic in action today at picobrew.com.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
Oh, I don't have a song for this one. But maybe I just do now. Before we get too crazy with the whole thing, Dr. Homebrew, I want to tell you guys about Craft Brew. Our friends at Craft Brew have a new fermenter called the Catalyst. We've talked about it before, but we can't talk enough about it. It's extremely awesome, very compact, made from plastic that's over 90% more scratch resistant than other plastic conicals, and 71% less oxygen permeable. So it's not just another plastic bucket that's shaped like a cone. This is a very different animal. It has a low profile stand, which can let you fit it snugly into a fridge or even right on your counter, depending on what you're doing. Cleaning is a breeze because the entire lid snaps off, so you can be sure to get all those little crusties off the side after your fermentation. And perhaps the best part is the giant 3-inch butterfly valve at the bottom, allowing you to attach any size mason jar at the bottom for yeast collection during fermentation. You can learn more about the Catalyst and all the other fine stuff over at craftabrew.com.
Yeah, I just filled my Catalyst up with that. So it's my second batch of the Berliner Weiss, the one that's not too dark.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I fast soured it at 98 degrees for about 72 hours with the Giga Yeast fast souring blend, and it's tart. It smelled like boiling like a mulled cider. It was so like tart and just there was like a lemony smell to it too, and just interesting. But I put that in the Catalyst, and it's going away there now. So, it's a nice product.
Awesome. That's cool, man. I appreciate that. I'm just telling Scott to call
3-inch butterfly valve and all that fun stuff. But yeah, that.
It's a cool thing, man. I haven't used it yet, but when it showed up and I passed it on to you, I was checking it out. It seems really, really sturdy.
It is, yeah.
I like it. All right, we're about to get Scott on the phone here. He has an American Stout for us that we're drinking currently right now. Just waiting on Scott, Okay. That guy. He's like, I forgot the phone number. How do you forget the phone number? Jerk. He's calling right now. He's calling right now, everybody. Don't worry about it. Don't panic.
Stop saying mean things about him, JP.
Scotty B is on the case. There he is.
All right.
Scotty, you there?
I'm here.
All right, how you doing, man?
Good to hear from you again, Chief.
Yeah, man. Hey, you too. Okay, so you've been on the phone before with us. Actually, you've been in the studio, I think, yeah?
A couple times.
Okay, all right. And how was that experience for you? Was it amazing?
It was life-changing.
All you ever dreamed it would be.
Explain to us how much we changed your brewing from just those few appearances, please. And don't leave anything out.
For about 20 minutes here, yeah. Just keep going.
Well, it was over a year and a half ago last time I was there, and at the time, I really wanted to get some feedback from Brian and Lee about judging. And since then, I've organized the Fresno Fair Homebrew competition twice.
Oh wow!
And
okay.
I judged.
Good for you,
I judged at the Orange County Fair Homebrew and at a Santa Cruz organic homebrew competition a few weeks ago too. So
wait, you're saying we inspired you? Like, that's crazy.
Yes, you guys were my inspiration.
Good.
Man, I'm glad you're getting into judging, man. That's good on you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We need more judges, man. Okay,
well,
so
you
have an American Stout.
Yep.
That you sent us?
That's what I sent.
All right. Brian, why don't you go ahead and start off, man? Tell Scott all about his American Stout.
Okay. I liked the aroma and the spirit. It has a pleasant roast malt in the nose and smooth. It's got a clean, low, the hop is kind of low and indistinct. There's definitely some hops there balancing against the malt and the roast. Moderate fruity esters. chocolatey and lightly sweet smelling. I didn't get any DMS or diacetyl. No obvious alcohol. Just a pleasant aroma. Fairly rich. Color-wise, it's a nice brownish, deep brownish black color with a brownish head and brownish. Seems to be clear, but it's hard to see through. It's like kind of a light brown head, and it's sticking around pretty well. Finer bubbles, and appearance-wise, again, how do you mess up a stout too badly? The malt, it's very rich in the flavor. So like it's another one of these that kind of surprises you in the flavor a little bit.
It has flavors.
It has lots of flavors, and you get into it, and it's like very rich, and it's leaning towards the ashy side of things, and a little more of the burnt flavors than like the middle chocolatey. It's all ash and roast up front, and it's a little bit biting. The hop bitterness seems to be out of the way, but then the ashy black malts bring that bitterness back up. It feels almost a little too bitter. It's too bitter. The balance is definitely to the malt and the roasted malts. The fermentation seems very clean, and it finishes medium dry nicely. You get a little bit, ashiness in the aftertaste, and there's a low coffee, like dark coffee there, but it's there's barely any chocolate with everything else that's there. So just a little too much roast. Mouthfeel-wise, medium-bodied. There's a kind of a biting astringency from the roast malt as well in there too. It could be that it was steeped or sparged at too high of a temperature, or too low of a pH, too much sparging, just too much. It's not too acidic, but the dryness with all the roast that's there and everything, it's not creamy and smooth at all. There's no no smoothness to it, sadly. It's again, these are mostly finer points. It's very drinkable and clean. Just a little out of balance for the American Stout style, I found. There's no obvious warmth in here. That's out of the way. The carbonation's medium low, but yeah, it's a nice cleanly brewed beer, just massively roasty and ashy, and a lot of burnt flavors in it. And they're kind of obliterating all the other stuff that should be underneath that, and a little light. I mean, American Stouts can be pretty roasty and pretty rich, but it's just a little over the top on that front. And I don't know if you like it. Maybe it's a beer that you brewed for us before, and we told you, you need to bump that. You need to bump that roast malt way the hell up, because this is just not roasty enough. If we told you to do that, don't listen to us at all ever, and just brew it whatever you were doing before was probably fine. No, it's it's mostly nuanced stuff and balanced stuff. Mm-hmm. The way the flavors are playing off each other, though, it's kind of one dimensional to me. So it's still drinkable and interesting, but I gave it a 29. I thought it was, it's a good beer. It's it just missed the mark a little bit on the style.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. All right, young man.
Before we continue, though, I got to let you know that I had a co-brewer. Now that you pointed out
you can blame it all on the co-brewer.
Yeah, Steve and Zach. But those things that you pointed out, those were my fault, because it was my recipe. So we used my friend Steve and Zach's equipment. We brewed it together.
Well, you guys were drinking too much beer together. Let the sparge go a little too long, and I don't know.
I'll tell you about the recipe when you guys are
okay.
Yeah.
Done.
All right, go for it, man. Let's do this.
I think Brian and I are going to be somewhere in the same place. I had a big roast caramel. I got a strange notes of. I was trying to figure out what it was, but it was like puffed wheat was the aroma that I was getting from it. Kind of like opening up a bag of puffed wheat, or I think are there multiple puffed cereal flavors that they sell in big bags, but that was what I was getting in part of that. It was kind of
super sugar puffs.
Yeah, it was one of those. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. Couldn't place it initially. I'm like, I got it, and it's one of those moments when you're really happy that you actually can remember that you smelled something that you didn't like in your earlier life. But yeah, so a light resiny hop character. Overall, really clean, light chocolate, but once again, aroma. I think the biggest thing for me was that big roast character. Appearance, I mean, it's going to be the same thing. Black with a big tan head. It dissipates a little bit. There is that color on our glasses here, but overall, yeah, really good looking stout. I mean, nothing wrong there at all. So in terms of flavor, again, deep roast. It reminds me, everything they talk about in the style guidelines about like not being overly burnt coffee. You're just towing the edge right there. It's like coffee grounds. It's like it's a little too much. That's probably the biggest hit on this beer. And in general, like there's some sweetness there that sort of balances that, but just not enough. And I think it is more of that the big coffee ground flavor, too much roast that's killing it. Bitterness in terms of bitterness, sweetness are generally okay. The astringency from the dark malt is starting to turn that over a little bit more in terms of bitterness. Hop flavor wasn't getting any at all. Fermentation characteristics and flavor, really really spot on. You did a great job there in terms of fermentation. Mouthfeel, once again, astringency is the main problem from the dark malt. It's pretty intense. Not really much creaminess. Maybe actually there's maybe like a medium creaminess here, but the astringency sort of fights with that a little bit. Body is medium full, and maybe just a touch of alcohol and medium carbonation. As Brian said, it's a really roast-focused stout. I like a lot about it, but it just toned down the roastiness some. I'd love to see it, again, some of the beers that were really roasty from the past, like Obsidian Stout, maybe Bell's Stout as well. How roasty they were and what we expect right now. Is it, are we, now over roasting our beers, or were they used to be over roasty, or where we are? But to me, like compared to some of the stouts I've had recently, this feels like this is a very heavy on the roast sort of beer.
Like mid-90s kind of thing?
Yeah. And I hate to say that about stouts, and I do really enjoy those old beers, and I think they still kind of maybe make them the same way. They may have a little more sweetness. I think Obsidian Stout is a pretty freaking roasty beer, but it has a pretty good backbone to it that kind of balances that out. And I think a lot of judges that I know would say that Obsidian is pretty roasty, astringent, but I think
it gets away with it because it's so good.
And I don't think you're far off here. I just think some tweaks, maybe dialing back the roast a little bit, maybe dialing up the sweetness a little bit more would get you right in that same sort of category.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know where it finished too, because it does feel pretty dry.
Yeah, let's run through the recipe, Scott. Come on. What are you doing?
OGFG. Malts.
Okay, so started at 1070.
Okay.
Finished at 1021.
Oh.
So it's 6.5 ABV. But yeah, I was kind of concerned that it was going to be astringent and overly kind of harsh with all the roasted grains. What I was going for was I was trying to make a stout that was layered and like complex, so I kind of went overboard. So I have some redundant ingredients. Like I used Midnight Wheat and Black Prince. I used a buttload of chocolate malt and roasted barley. And I used Victory Malt, flaked oats, flaked barley, but only about 50% of the grain bill was Marathon.
Wow.
I think I just went overboard with all the specialty malts.
Yeah.
50% base malt and the rest dark and chocolate and everything else?
That sounds like
unless you count
a lot.
Oats as part of the base malt.
Okay. Well, oats would lean toward that side, yeah.
Yeah, and I got that creaminess too from the beer, which is interesting because it was kind of like fighting the astringency, but I could actually pick that up. That wasn't like, it wasn't thin or it was like it's still there, but yeah, I think that's a lot of different dark malts that you're using.
So it was definitely like an experimental recipe. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think it would go. I made quite a few stouts, and this one I was just going for some complexity, and I just went a little overboard with that.
Yeah, again, you probably listened to us when I was like, well, your recipe is too simple and one-dimensional. You need to add this and that and something else and maybe a little of that, maybe something.
It does feel a little bit like chewing on some dark malt, and which you shouldn't ever do. But occasionally, I always I grab malt, and I do. We talked about earlier, like, hey, grab percentage of malts and put it in your mouth. And this reminds you a little bit of like chewing on maybe some pale chocolate or something. You're like, that's a little bit.
Yeah, the old 100 grain beer recipe. Because I think if you did that experiment with this beer, I think right away you would be overwhelmed with the roast.
I don't think the 100 grain experiment. I don't think would work with stouts at all, though. I think anytime you put the dark malt in your mouth, it would probably not taste.
Oh yeah, you think so? Well, yeah, you're probably right.
Next show we can
just try it out. Yeah, you're probably right actually, because you get that. Like patent or roasted barley or something that just disintegrates in your mouth. It doesn't really chew. Yeah, probably. What
was the water like and the pH and all that stuff if you took pH readings?
Well, we used well water that has a pH, starting pH of 7.93.
Okay.
And with all those dark malts, I didn't really...
Yeah.
Well, I need a new pH meter too, but with all those dark malts, I just figured it's going to take it down to 5 point something.
Probably was, yeah.
Usually it seemed pretty solid. It wasn't sour. I mean, that's the biggest thing to look for. It
wasn't really acidic, so that the water seemed about right as far as that goes. Not too minerally or sour.
I use Edinburgh yeast too, and we fermented it at 62 degrees, like really, really low, really cold for an ale yeast.
Yeah.
And the hops, are just Galena.
A little fruitiness from the yeast might help to accent some of the stuff that's going on too. It's like there's not a lot of sweetness. I mean, the sweetness is coming across in a weird way. It's like there's a little bit there, but it's not.
What should his base malt be ideally? Not 50%, but 70? I mean, where can we give him a little target for this?
We start with Guinness if you wanted to, and what's the old Guinness recipe is it's crazy, by the way, and that's you want to go from there and go down. So it's like Guinness is like what? I should know this off the top of my head, but it's like 65, 10, and I'm not messing it up. But like look at the Guinness recipe and go down from there. So now I'm just totally fucking it up. Sorry. It's been a lot of stouts tonight, but I used to always use Guinness as a baseline, and Guinness is supposed to be like overly roasted. You don't necessarily want that, but it's like 3 ingredients: base malt. Flake barley and roasted malt. I think roasted malt makes up 10% of that. So you can move from there.
Barley.
Okay. Yeah. I know the flaked is 10% as well. That's their magic number.
I think that's kind of like So it's 10, and maybe from there the 75. So that makes it's not that's not the math, of course. But, I thought it was 15, but whatever.
Okay.
But so I think the roasted we can look that up. But like I don't know what the exact number should be, but you gotta find that. And sometimes it's the magic of your own system and how much you're sparging and are you you're gonna do the Gordon Strong thing and put it in at the sparge or steep and all that sort of stuff, and it all depends on some like your water and all that sort of thing. But it is a little bit of playing with what you're doing, but I would be careful with I would start smaller and then bring up from there. And I think JP, the last beer you brought us, I think was a couple shows ago that you were really like sort of messing with that a little bit and like sort of like
tweaking it out. You have to.
In dark beers, you kind of have to find your own way.
Because and I think maybe this beer has suffers from some of this too. It's easy to miss that mid ground, that mid palate in a dark beer. Because you're focusing on kind of the dark grains, and then you have to have obviously your base malt there. But it's easy to miss that kind of mid palate shift between the malt and then into the roast.
Yeah, and that's why stout tastes Guinness tastes so roasty is because it's just those 3 ingredients. There's no middle malts. It's just the roasted barley, the flaked, and
the nitrogen,
the base malt
covers a lot of it. It helps.
That smooths everything out.
I will go to my grave saying this, but I think that the nitrogen in that Guinness, like that beer is built for the nitrogen. You can't just nitrogenate any fucking beer. I think you need to take some of that sweet malt out if you want to have it on nitrogen.
Right, the smoothness is coming from the nitro. Yeah, that's totally it. And then, but also a lot of times, sometimes simpler is better. You want to just, instead of having 10 malts in your beer, try, 3 or 4 and see, bring out what you want to bring out, and then maybe take away something before you add something else.
Yeah.
It's like the EQing when you're doing a mix in the studio. It's like, well, I can't hear the guitars. It's like because you didn't EQ the drums right, and the bass is like filling out the middle ground. You want to have everything play harmoniously together and get the balance right and dial out certain things to make other ones shine through.
You got that, Scott?
EQ the beer.
That. And
EQ it.
What I have a problem with holding back on the roasted grains is I want the aroma, and it's hard to get the right amount of aroma without going too far on the roasted grains too. To actually have the roasted malt aroma coming out of it, it's really easy to use too much and have it be all astringent and ashy.
Yeah.
So, maybe finding something to smooth it out. Like the flake barley or some oats or something will help to smooth something out a little bit.
Well, I think the one thing Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said maybe get a nitro system.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to knock a lot of the aroma out anyway. But I mean, one thing we didn't talk about really is it is an American stout, and you have some leeway there to add hops to it if you really wanted to. But it's not my preference. I would rather have the beer be focused on the roasted malt. But there are some other options there to sort of change that up and add some resiny hops or something like that, just to kind of mix it in. But
yeah, it's definitely a very drinkable beer, and it's not, drinking it the second time, I can drink this beer. It's just balanced things mostly for the American Stout style. And it's a little bit kitchen sink with all the stuff going on.
Yeah. Scott, do you have any other questions for the guys, or we're going to let you go? I think we've covered it.
I just want to thank you guys for having me on and taking the time to judge my beer and give me some recipe suggestions, and I really appreciate your time. That's all.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the beer, man.
Come on again anytime and come in and see us here.
Okay, you hear that, JP? I have to be on again.
Damn it.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, dude.
Take care.
Later.
Bye.
Cool. Good beer. Good beer.
Yeah, I like it. Despite that it doesn't fit the specific profile, all that great. The roasts and the ash isn't too harsh. It's just a rich roasty beer, and that's what it is.
Yeah,
I love to taste it against some of the other older, American stouts and see how it actually does.
I think you were right on. I think there is kind of a movement to bring back some of those older style. Like we were talking about it on the last show. I think there's this. There's a pale ale on that tasted more like a mid-90s pale. Or you know what? That Deschutes, the Armory XPA beer.
It's the retro beer movement.
Yeah, that has that classic, like, older Pacific Northwest hop, like the Nugget and the Centennial and all that kind of stuff. But with that new beer, or that new hop, kind of gives it a new tropical kind of spin on it. And I think that's kind of coming back, that more, I don't know, caramel in the body, more kind of thing, rather than that super dry, no specialty malt, tons of hop forward. I think that kind of, movement is. I
think there's time now,
waning.
like for a historical beer of like the 1995 IPA, which would be kind of funny in a competition to enter that sort of beer. Like, hey, this is a 1995 IPA. It's really, really bitter. Doesn't have a lot of hop aroma or flavor, and it has old hops, like the older style hops.
Yeah.
And it's really it's kind of malty, and that
I think it'd be great.
Funny to do this sort of beers.
Yeah.
I think I may brew one of those soon.
All Cascade, super bitter.
I mean, it'd be awesome.
IPA.
I'll enter it under like Kevin Costner or something.
Yeah, he's a brewer. Before we take a break, I want to tell you guys about the iDip. It's the Smart Water Testing Kit, Smart Brew Water Testing Kit. Again, I'm reading too fast. It incorporates the revolutionary photometer system, which it's known for. It's the first and only one on the market with its own app. It's for home or commercial use. It's the only meter on the market that runs water tests with no math needed on your part, so it's great if you're a big dummy like everybody here. It pairs via Bluetooth and updates your water results instantly to your own personal water profile, which you can then email to the rest of your brew team, or you can put it like on Facebook or something and let your homebrew club know what you're working with. Maybe you want a little bit of advice on how to build your water profile for the next day or whatever. You can test over 40 different water quality tests. 4 come preloaded, and you can get more added as you wish. You can test for things like total alkalinity, chloride, calcium hardness, pH, sulfate, and more. Only 4 mils of water are needed for each test. Go to smartbrewkit.com and enter TBN10 at checkout and save $10 on either the standard or advanced Smart Brew testing kit. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to give away some prizes, and then we're going to go home. It's Dr. Homebrew Hangout, and we'll be right back.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making. Now, back to the examination.
All right, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Before we get to the prizes, because we always have prizes to give away here on Dr. Homebrew, that's what we do. We like to give you, look, you're spending money, giving us your beer, dude. The least we can do is give you prizes. Not only are you getting a rad thank you gift from the fine people at 5 Star Chemicals, which just for being on the show, but today we're going to give away a $40 gift certificate to grogtag.com. You can go to grogtag.com, check out all the stuff that they have for you to fully customize your beer, your whole beer experience, from metal signs to tap handles to bottle caps to whatever you want, man. Coasters, obviously beer labels, and they're reusable, and it's a really great thing. But before we do that, you guys know about the free Brew Guru app. I'm sure you guys know about that. If you don't, just go download it right now while I'm telling you all about it. It's for home brewers and beer lovers, which you're probably both. It delivers sage brewing knowledge and money-saving deals at breweries, beer bars, and homebrew supply shops. It's designed by the fine people at the American Homebrewers Association, and it helps homebrewers and craft beer lovers explore the world of beer that we all share. It finds you deals, saves you money on beer. So basically, if you're anywhere near a place, a bar or a homebrew shop that offers that 10% off that you get for being an American Homebrew Association member, then it will it'll push that to your phone, and it'll tell you, hey, it's like 0.02 miles away, and then you can go grab a beer, save 10% on wings or whatever the deal is. I have no idea. It also has a powerful brewery locator, so you can just find just breweries and tap rooms in general, homebrew shops, beer bars, all that kind of stuff. Not necessarily saving you the money, but if you just look, if you're out and about and you want to find a place to go drink you've never been before, Brew Guru, man, it'll help you out. Plus, you can read full-length articles from Zymergy, which is pretty rad. Just right on the app, man. It's pretty neat. So check it out. It's anywhere you get apps, the iStore or the Android store or whatever it is. Learn more at homebrewersassociation.org.
Cool.
Okay. So what are we giving away?
What are we giving away?
We're giving away something. We're giving away the grog tags
and a grog tag.
What's that?
Right.
Just the grog tag.
Just the grog tag.
We're giving away just the grog tag. I wish we were giving away the beer bug, man. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the beer bug, we do, the beer bug. It fits in on top of your carboy. There's like a weight that drops down into the wort, and it syncs via Wi-Fi to an app, in case you guys don't know. I'm just telling you. And then you can tell exactly when your fermentation kicks off. You can tell exactly where your fermentation is at any given point, and then you can tell when it starts to decline, and then when it stops. You can tell the temperature, all that kind of stuff. So no more wondering, no more guessing about where your fermentation is or if it's even going or whatever. The beer bug's pretty rad. It's beerbug.com, I believe.
Yeah,
good people.
Keep you from checking your email at work too much. You'll be checking your where's your
resetting
gravity?
your phone, man. Yeah. Okay, so who won our grog tags?
The grog tag goes to Scott.
All right, Scott. Good job, dude.
Thank you. Dress that stout up. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Hey, I want to tell you
Appreciate
about.
it. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, grog tags.
Delayed is better than never.
Brian, you want to talk to us about Nico Brew?
I want to tell you about Nico Brew. Nico Brew has the hops you are looking for, from your standard recipe staples to those hard-to-find ones. After 7 years, they're still offering their famous and, infamous? Or is it famous? Yes. $5 shipping. No, there was another word for it before, like mind-splattering $5 shipping. I don't know. Something. And with their super fast turnaround, you'll be brewing in no time. All their hops are nitrogen flushed and vacuum sealed. I hate it when you get hops that are loose and not packaged.
Yeah, it's terrible,
right.
dude.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Mylar packaging. Make sure you get the freshest hops available. They even have commercial accounts available to pro brewers and homebrew shops. So hit them up, guys. Coming soon, a complete line of pro brewing equipment. That's exciting. Custom built fermenters, brew houses, you name it. Nico's doing some cool stuff over there. Check out the new Nico Brew swag, onesies, tees for toddlers, and even something for you grown-ups out there. It's not just for kids. Head out to nicobrew.com today for all your hop needs.
Beautiful.
Do it.
I think you did great.
Thank you.
All right, fellas. Thank you very much for sitting here, tasting beer, and teaching our lovely community a little bit about whatever you told them. I wasn't listening, but I'm sure it was a great show.
It was great, other than Brian's hazy.
Brian, that's still there.
Almost done.
You've been drinking that for 4 friggin' hours now, dude.
For a month, you've been drinking that.
But it's really good. I think he brought it with him. No? Okay.
It's getting better with age.
I'm sure it is. Okay, everybody. Look, if you want a more great quality beer programs like this, they're all over the Brewing Network. I don't know. Do whatever you want to do. Or not. Go listen to Serial or Lore or something like that.
I'll tell you, there's not 1,000 other shows like this, though.
There's definitely not. No, this is the best show ever on the Brewing Network. But, there's the session and all the other kind of stuff. Anyway, this has been Dr. Homebrew. You guys have been great. We're out of here.
All right.